perfection is the enemy of action. You can sit in a room, you can kind of pore over designs and copywriting and product attributes, and you can try and deliver the most sort of perfect launch into the market. But if you do that, you might actually just never launch. And I think 50% on the truck is much more valuable than 100% stuck in the warehouse.
LinkedIn, what a crock of shit. The most stressful inducing app I've ever known.
For building our brand, it's been really helpful. It's been really hard.
Didn't you do a meal deal with Sonny?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
We won't talk about that too much. No, I'm joking. But that is a really good example. But we were front of store. Everyone saw Jolly Hog.
How
front of store in the meal deal.
What do you think went wrong, if you don't mind me asking? Thank you, Cathy. Right, we're going to jump in without trying to break any more glasses. But before we jump in, I'd love to welcome Bryony, who's from Unleashed, our wonderful sponsor. And you're just going to give a couple minutes on what you guys do and how you help challenger brands. That's not actually going to make any noise, but yeah, just speak into it.
Brilliant. I'm Bryony, just like Dan said. So probably, we've been sponsoring the Hungry podcast for about 18 months, maybe. Backing this man who smashes glasses, and all the way, love what he's doing. We are from Unleashed. When I say Unleashed, there's two people at the back in the room who are also from Unleashed, Mike, Kay, and myself. And instead of talking about software for a minute, I'm going to tell you an interesting fact about all three of us. So Kay is an international hula hoop artist. These are true, by the way. This isn't like guess which one is not true. These are all true. And Mike is fluent in Arabic, of a Lebanese dialect. There we go. Wow. Apparently that's really important. And I am writing a musical. So you can approach us later on and not talk about software, is what I'm saying, because we are real people. What did I want to say to you today? So what is Unleashed? I suppose I should say a little bit about what Unleashed is. We are inventory management software. So we run a real-time database, which in turn allows you, manages all your stock, and in turn allows you to make some pretty good informed business decisions that will help scale your business. So right from forecasting to COGS. Can I use acronyms in this room? Yeah. If not us, someone later. So COGS tracking through to stock on hand availability, from raw material, work in progress to finished goods. So we talk to Unzero and QuickBooks, and there are actually 5 customers in the room. So what I'm saying to you is don't talk to us tonight, unless you do want to talk about hula hoops and musicals. Talk to the customers in the room if you really are looking for an inventory management software to sort of boost your business. And the people who have got a little Unleashed badge on are customers of ours. So I think we've got Helena from True Start, we've got Ava from Freya at the back. So, have I got that the right way around? Yeah. We've got Mo, who used to be at Tiny Rebel. We've got Jake from Bristol Distilling Company. And of course, Ben Vear, who's like a serial referrer for us. I think we're about 6 or 7 businesses that you've referred to us over the years. So that's enough. And one living. I'm so not up to date. I do apologise. I'll give you a badge in a minute. That's it, I think. That's all I wanted to say. It's a real pleasure to sponsor tonight. We hope you have a fantastic evening. Zip.
Thank you so much.
I'll go.
Right, well, thank you so much, guys. I think what I want to open with is, there's some lessons that can only be learnt through experience, through the hard way. And I was listening to a podcast with a guy called Chris Williamson, who's super, super smart, and he was saying there's a difference between 2D lessons and 3D lessons. So 2D lessons you can sort of learn in a textbook, but 3D lessons you can only learn through painful experiences. In life, that could be, heartbreak, it could be grief. And I'd love to sort of apply some of these really hard lessons in brand building, because we all go through a lot of hard shit doing this. You can only learn through going through it. So, Kath, let's start with you, mate. And what would you say has been that sort of lesson really painful, but taught you. It was so painful, it taught you so much kind of wisdom on your journey. I just whacked that there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just whacked that there. Oh, God. As if. I think, like, one of the most painful lessons that we learned as a brand at the start was of trying to be cool. Trying to speak this kind of narrative that you've got to kind of like have all this stuff on your packaging that says this about you and kind of be hip and trying to be cool and all this kind of shit, which actually, sorry, I swear a lot, by the way, so you'll have to bleep all that out, is the fact that ultimately what we found out was what for our products is people only care what's actually in the packet. They care what it tastes like. It cares what it actually, is delivering for them in their day-to-day life, rather than opposed of, should we have this on the labelling? Should we be able to talk to someone in a certain way? Should be, kind of like making yourself quite niche without actually realising that you need to actually focus more about what's actually inside what you're delivering. And it's really quite strange because that is actually how Boundless was built, was the fact that I wanted to deliver a really good product. And it kind of got lost when we first launched. We were too very much branded thinking. Do you know what I mean? Like, how's everyone going to perceive like this word opposed to that word and all of this kind of stuff. And it kind of lost us at first. So it was a harsh lesson to learn, and why we then had to kind of like change our position about how we talk to our consumer, because ultimately what they were really interested in was what was in our packet and not what was actually in our wording. And I thought that was a real valuable lesson for us, because that took us a few years to learn that, and that probably stopped us from growing as quickly as potentially we could have done. And a lot of expense.
Words you changed, how do you actually specifically change it?
We talk to people much more emotionally. Do you know what I mean? Much more directly. Do you know what I mean? Rather than kind of scientifically and kind of like trying to talk to them in the way that they wanted to be informed, rather than the fact remembering that it's a fucking snack and I've got like 3 seconds of your fucking time. Do you know what I mean? And no one actually even has time to think about that. Do you know what I mean? They actually just want it to tell you what it does on the tin. You need to be Ron Seal. Do you know what I mean? So we learned harshly from that. So lots of expensive rebranding, destroying of packaging, starting again and that kind of stuff. And to know that, remembering that what we actually deliver in that packaging, as in the actual product, is bloody tasty and good for you. And trying to be too cool when I'm clearly not very cool. So that was it for you.
Benny boy, you've had quite an eclectic FMCG career, minor figures, bear snacks, and obviously now with Living Things that's absolutely killing it. What would you say your kind of 3D painful lesson is?
Yeah, I think probably it's a bit of a build on Cathy's actually, but to not boil the ocean for the fact that kind of perfection is the enemy of action. And you can sit in a room, you can kind of pore over designs and copywriting and product attributes, and you can pore over it and over it and over it and over it and try and deliver the most sort of perfect launch into the market. But if you do that, you might actually just never launch. And I think 50% on the truck is much more valuable than 100% stuck in the warehouse. So just getting on and just getting something out there for customers to interact with, to pick up, to buy, to try, and not be afraid to improve and develop and reformulate as you go along the journey, and to take learnings as you go. And I think about the time we were we launched Living Things really, really fast, because we're 14 months into the journey and we're already sort of 2,000 stores, but about to be in 10,000. And we kind of...
Oh, that's totally shit, babe.
I know, it's shit, but we agonised for like weeks and weeks and weeks over like a fucking raspberry picture on the can. And was it tasty enough? Was it refreshing enough? Was it pink enough. And this went like on and on and on and on. And you know, all the while you're like racking up bills, you're not launching, people are launching ahead of you, getting going. And just not trying to boil the ocean and not trying to be the most perfect thing on the shelf, I think is probably a lesson we learned quite fast.
Amazing. Ollie, on to you, mate.
So many lessons. My brother's here, and I'm in business with him, Max, and my other brother, Josh. And actually, one of our favourite things ever is to talk about the dark times when we're together. Like at Christmas, we'll be raucously laughing about some massive fuck up that we've done, and there's been loads. And I guess like the big ones that stand out. We opened up a restaurant, our second restaurant, and we thought we really knew what we were doing. And we're from Bristol, and we were like, yeah, we know good locations. This is happy days, and we put loads of cash into it and loads of motion into it. And this is whilst building a retail brand and having an events business and lots of other things. And we literally opened up a pork restaurant in what I can only describe as the vegan capital of the universe. And like within a year, me and Max were just like, this is just horrendous. We didn't sleep, you know, for any Sunday night. On a Sunday night, we didn't sleep for like a whole year. Came up with these things like, what was it? Loads of stuff, but like the meetings would be like trying to get some positivity into it, would be like get stuff done and have fun, but it was just a load of bollocks. And we ended up closing it. We lost loads of cash, but we learned loads from it. And the big thing for me is someone once said to me at the start of the journey, who knew a lot about retail and building brands, was that there's no shortcuts in building a brand. And people come up to us, and it's lovely when people come up and they go, I love your sausages, I love your bacon, you guys are smashing it. But I immediately just kind of, my reaction is, yeah, it's carnage behind the scenes. And we've been growing. In this for us is like, I don't know, 17 years. And we talk about a 17-year overnight success story, because it's like, there hasn't been any shortcuts. We've done it all from scratch to grow it. And that's not me preaching about how great we are. We've kind of had to learn. And other things, like we went to one of our first buyers meetings with me, Max and Josh. And Mum bought Josh a new suit from Mataland. It was 35 quid. It was a three-piece suit, and it was horrific. And we went up there with a box of sausages, and this was our big thing. This was our first ever pitch into a retailer. The retailer will remain unnamed. And we got a text as we walked through the door saying, "Sorry, mate, can't make it." Max had cancelled his family holiday, and we were just like, wow. But you kind of have to just be relentless in this game to like come back. We had a meeting 6 months after that meeting. The buyer didn't eat sausages, and you know, like, it's just relentless. And I think there's probably isn't any words of wisdom in there, but we kind of had. There's no shortcuts, I think, when you're building a brand to last.
What are some of the like common shortcuts that you thought could be a shortcut? Is actually just there's only the long cut, yeah.
Long cut.
Anyone can take that, by the way.
Anyone take that, and I'll have a little think.
Well, like, as in, like, you could say going into a shitload of distribution really quickly can bite you in the arse.
Okay, I've got one. So we were talking about earlier, actually, account managers. So as you grow your business, like me and Max were the account managers for every account, relentless when you get into all of the retailers, which we're lucky to be in. But as founders, the buyers and the retailers, I guess, expect you to be in them all. And you have to try and find a balance with account managers. So if you shortcut it and you don't turn up, and you know, the founder, I can't be asked anymore, that's a really important one to get right, I think. And make sure you're there for the introduction of the brand. Make sure you're there when you're talking about product. You'd have to be at all of them. But getting that balance right, that's one that I don't think you can mess around with.
That's not easy.
No.
To do, because you're trying to be in multiple places at multiple times. And for me, so I'm sole founder, and literally you're trying to split yourself into multiple kind of places at all these kind of times. And, you know, what's more important to you? And I think sometimes that comes back to trying to make sure you do really have a clear strategy.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that like could fall in your lap and you think, oh my God, we could be there. And that's like 100 million bags and we've only sold 1,000 this year. Do you know what I mean? So that would be epic. But, you got to be realistic, like in the sense of, is that really part of your strategy? Is that just now white noise? Do you know what I mean? And yes, it would be great to get into that retailer or that, you know, whatever it is, that kind of like point of sale. But is that really part of your strategy? And is that really part of something that you can cope with? Because as we all know, going in somewhere onto shelf or whatever it may be is actually the easiest part. It's really hard, but it's the easiest part. It's staying in there. Yeah. It's maintaining that. And I think if you've kind of just gone into a place that you just think, oh, I'll take that, I think, yeah, we all, well, I'm sure I'll talk about that later, but I think you can be really easily deviated. And I think that's a hard balance. And I think you only learn that by actually getting burnt.
Yeah.
I
totally agree with that. I think maybe like as a society we've been sold this kind of from the LinkedIn sort of circle jerk that goes on like every day constantly, and from things like The Apprentice or success stories from a couple of decades ago, like the innocent exit to Coke. What you don't sort of see behind the curtain is the pain it takes to get to that kind of critical momentum. And I think it's really unusual to take a brand that day one sort of launches on a shelves or the fridges of a Tesco, and those that do really often struggle because you sort of land on the shelf as this kind of UFO overnight that no one knows what the fuck it is, unless you have many millions of pounds of promotional spend and trade marketing spend. So I think you have to do your hard yards, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, 24 months or longer, of starting to build your cachet of like credibility in the right accounts first. And that gives you the kind of permission and ability to go kind of really, really big mainstream distribution.
Yeah, the long cut, basically, the long way of doing it, yeah. I want to talk about, I think, as your brand scales and evolves, I think in parallel or in tandem to that, you as a founder have to scale and evolve. I think, Olly, what you said there, mate, about, going to the meetings and stuff is one of those examples. But Cathy, we'll start with you. Like, how have your business and brands evolved? How have you had to evolve as a founder to sort of, dance with the evolution of your brand? Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. With great difficulty, because I'm a control freak. I think like when you're, like I say, a founder or sole founder or in any capacity of how you work as a team as founders, you are in everything. You are like in supply chain, you're in like speaking to the retailer, you're speaking to your manufacturer, you're producing your product, you're also your brand spokesperson, all of this kind of stuff. And I think everybody here, if you are in your own business, then you are naturally entrepreneurial, and therefore you are naturally like, this is my baby. Do you know what I mean? I love it, I care about it, I care more than anything else. But to let go is the only way that you can expand. So if you have a dream, whatever that dream may be for your product as brand, then it has to be that you need to expand. And ultimately, to do that, you've got to have other people take the reins in certain points. So hire good people, of course. I mean, I think I'm really lucky that I have been able to hire some amazing people, and I'm really big about my team. I really treat my team like family, and we do operate like family. I really like to work in a collaborative way with my team, and that has helped me let the reins go to such. But I've also hired some shocking fucking people. Yes, okay, I've paid them more because I fucking paid myself nothing. Do you know what I mean? But and that is because that is on me. And that is because I've probably not wanted to let go enough. So I've kind of been like, oh yeah, they could probably do half of what I really need them to do, rather than thinking, well, I actually need them to do the whole thing that I need them to do. So in all fairness, I probably set those people up to fail, which is unfair, and that's on me, not on them. But also because I think there is that thing is no one's ever going to care about your business the way you do. Do you know what I mean? You are much more invested in it than they will ever be. But I think you really have to remember, without them, you won't get the end goal of whatever it is you're achieving. So it is really hard to let go. And I have found that difficult. But I have recognised that I have needed to do that. And that is the only thing, in honesty, that's made Boundless become a bigger brand, is the fact that I have actually been able to trust my team. It wasn't easy. But I think once you start to do that, I think it's easier. The first hire is the hardest. The second makes it a bit easier. Do you know what I mean? You kind of move with the momentum. And I think, yeah, you need to get people to support you.
Amazing. Ben?
Yeah, I kind of think you have to become like a bit of a sort of 70s Indian guru. You have to kind of like a Hindu guru. You have to kind of like convince a group of people. Whether it's your friends and you convince them you're still mates, but you're not going to fucking see them very much for the next 3 years, or it's your partner and you're also not going to fucking see them very much for the next few years, or it's a group of people you're going to hire and you need them to absolutely go to the wall for you and to, you know, really believe in the vision and the mission and take the pain, but also take the good times too. So I think that's probably part of it. I think probably learning to lean back a little bit and giving people the room to grow and do their jobs, which is hard because you're obsessed with it and you want to make it work. And
how do you do that?
How do you do that? The fundamental is hiring good people. The second, I think, is really good, clear communication constantly, whether it's using things like Slack or seeing people face to face or setting the kind of framework for people to work in and then making sure they work within that and setting those parameters. What else? I think you also, as a founder, you kind of ride this like constant like roller coaster of like happiness, but also fuck, I'm about to fall out the seat of this roller coaster. Whether it's like running out of cash or how am I going to make next payday or how am I going to fund that next production, you do kind of have to take a bit of comfort in it's going to be pretty hairy. And you've got to ride this thing and you've got to totally believe in it. If you don't totally believe in it, it's like no point doing it, I think. But yeah, I think that would be the two things is the having the like resilience to push through the good and the bad times, and then the kind of team and the family and the friends piece. And not to keep using loads of analogies, but you're also like that knight from Monty Python where you just keep getting cuts. I've still got another fucking arm, I've still got another fucking leg. Like I'm just a head now, but I've got a nose. You know, come at me, keep going. I can take more.
Amazing, Ollie.
Yeah, I guess a lot of it's been said, but I think from my point of view and Max's is that we've built up a team over time. And really good people to come in and do a much better job than me at marketing and other people. But making sure they're really clear on what we're about as a business has been the thing that is kind of we have to stay on top of all the time. And we've done it in different ways through away days and lots of different things, but making sure that they're really clued on to what their job is. And I feel passionate about it because I used to play professional rugby. I did it for 14 years and I knew what my job was. I got hammered every day on what my job was. It was like, you're going to go and smash people as hard as you can, and this is what I need you to do. Don't touch the ball. Don't want you to touch the ball. Don't do any of the glamorous stuff. But I want you to, because you're crap at touching the ball, but make sure you go and smash people, and you're relentless at doing that for 80 minutes every Saturday, and you're there in training, and this is your job. And your job is part of a bigger thing because there's someone else who can touch the ball and go and do that and win us games and kick the points and score the try. And I learned that in sport, and that was just like something that was just kind of drilled in. Know your role, understand your role, everyone clear on their role throughout the whole squad, and you're going to go and achieve something. And that's what, I'm not saying we get it right all the time, but we spend quite a lot of time making sure that people know what they're doing.
Amazing. I'd love to know, like, what's the most underrated piece of brand building wisdom you've ever learned? Who taught it to you, and why is it so underrated? Whoever wants to jump in on that.
Yeah, so a guy once said to me, Max, that, and this is a bit cheesy, but it was like, his line was like, quality is the best business plan. And it's been said before, but I was kind of like, I'm not into these quotes, but this one has stuck with me for ages. And the way he brought it alive was that it wasn't just about quality products, which you have to have. You have to have a quality product. And if you're building a brand, for us, where we are in meat, like it can easily be a race to the bottom and commoditized and really bad. And so we had to be relentless on quality, but it was also about not just on product, on packaging, on colours and all the detail. It was about quality relationships. I was speaking to someone earlier about our relationship, our stakeholder stuff with people in retailers, food service, everyone tonight, like relationships with people that we work with. All of those are like the quality of that has meant that we've been able to go and grow the business. So we talk about quality a lot as a business. And we don't get everything right, but that's always with us.
Amazing.
Do you want to go, Kath? Okay, I'm happy to go. Been really lucky to work for a few really great people. I think you've had most of them on your show, Dan. So Giles Brooke, who sort of Innocent, and then Bear, and then like lots of other businesses. Guy called Anthony Lawman, who was like a big director at Mars and then ran like Wilkinson Sword. And then Ishan, who was on the Bear journey, ran Oatly. So we were like deadly rivals for a few years. And now he's at Gymkhana. And the three of them kind of spoke the same language. So the first was obsession. So like total obsession with your customer, your retailers, down to store level. Like, have you visited your top 20 Waitrose stores, your top 20 Tesco stores? Do you know the manager's name? Do you know the regular shoppers that go in? Do you know the other, like what's going on in those areas? Like, do you know how to really, really, really drive your brand in that particular store? And then let's multiply it by 200 Waitrose, 600 Tesco. So that like relentless level of obsession and fixing problems and getting to know people and building big displays and like just really, really driving rate of sale like insanely hard. I remember we had like a back to school campaign at Bear. We wanted to get our brand out there. We didn't have much budget. The business was like run on a shoestring. So we would go into every Asda store and try and get like FSDUs, like big displays built. And I remember we got Asda Brighton. We convinced the store manager to basically let us put a display at the end of every single aisle. So it was like 20 displays. And then I remember the regional manager like phoning up like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's way too much stock, you're taking the piss. But it was like that level of just like taking things, making it work at ground level and then like multiplying it as quickly as possible that really grew the brand. And then I think just basic commercials would be the second one. So in my industry, if you don't have 50-60% gross margin that you can like run the business off, reinvest in promotions, trade marketing, and like have healthy hygiene factors in the business and healthy economics.
Those hygiene factors?
Just rate of sale, cost of goods, being able to reinvest to then continue to drive rate of sale and bring cost of goods down. Like if you can't do those basics, you've got a fundamental problem. And you're not necessarily always going to be there from day one because you need scale and there's a big unlock and things, but you need a roadmap to get there. I think the new current world of particularly investment is not looking at multiples of revenue, it's looking at multiples of profitability. Mm-hmm. So you need to have a profitable business that's scalable to be able to one day exit, or if you want to float on the stock exchange or just run the thing like a Arizona iced tea or something for like 100 years, you need to have those hygiene factors in place. So that would be my two.
Amazing. Yeah, Stu Foresight from Minor Figures came on and he was just like, bite off more than you can chew and then chew like hell. That was his whole like thing. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, mate. Cathy, what about you, mate? There you go.
So mine's slightly different to you guys. Do you know what I mean? You're sounding more sense than what I'm about to say. I'm clearly like, I like to chat. I love a waffle. And my friend's dad, who actually started Frobishers and was really good friends with, basically a juice company that started in the southwest, but it's like kind of grown all over the UK and stuff. And he founded that, and I went to chat to him about what I was doing at Boundless, and he was good friends with the guys from Innocent because he knew him from Sunburst and whatever it was. Anyway, and he was asking me, so what is it you're doing at Boundless? And I was like, oh yeah, well we do this and I make this and it's really good for your garden, all this sort of stuff. And he went, so can you say it to me in 3? I went, well, what do you mean? Like, say it to you in 3. He goes, you need to be able to say it in 3. Do you know what I mean? Tell me what you do in 3 words. You've got 3 seconds or 7 seconds of someone's time in terms of snacking. So if you say it in 3 seconds, it means you've got 4 seconds of them to think, I'm making an informed choice. And I think that was probably the best lesson for me, because in terms of what we did, I was trying to launch something in gut when no one wanted to talk about gut, is certainly in food. And it was really discombobulating because everything we talked about was science at first, and it was really kind of like really confusing. And we grow it in the UK, and we work with an amazing charity partner, Cathy, wherever you are, at Frankwater over there. And all of these things that we were doing, and we were trying to this was all this fucking noise. And it was like, well, can you say it in 3? And eventually we were able to say it in 3. And that was the best advice for me. Gut, happy snacking. Gut is what we do. Happy is your emotion. Snacking is what it does on the tin. It's a snack. Do you know what I mean? So that was the greatest advice for me, because in terms of having a product we're really carving out a new kind of sector within function, or delivering function in snacking. We needed to make it clear to the consumer, and before that we were really unclear. And I think for us that was the best advice I've ever had, and that has actually elevated our business in a really big way.
Amazing. Final question, then we'll open this up to you guys. But what's one truth you believe that most food and drink founders would disagree with you on, and why? Whoever wants to jump in on that.
I think I hear quite a lot, just be really good at one thing, and I do totally get it, and I take my hat off. But we've gone the other way. So
Right.
we want to be really good at sausages and bacon. That's our core business. We want to grow that. But we were like, actually, if we can spread the brand into other categories, that's really powerful for building our brand. And actually, if our business has got restaurants and events and other things, then that's really helpful, because we are living examples. If we didn't have a retail business that was funded by our restaurant and our events business to start off with, like during COVID, we would have just gone under, because our restaurant went under and lots of other things happened. So we had other channels that made us relevant. And then the other categories, we literally, our first listing was like just one sausage line, one bacon line. And now we've got, I think we're in 5 or 6 different categories, and some of them are a lot smaller than others. But for building our brand, it's been really helpful. It's been really hard.
When you in the meal, didn't you do a meal deal, Sonny?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
We won't talk about it too much. No, I'm joking. But that is a really good example. It comes out next week. It comes out of store next week.
Oh, really?
We did it for 2 years, but we were front of store. Everyone saw Jolly Hog front of store in the meal deal.
What do you think went wrong, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, that's a whole other pod, mate.
Okay, yeah. That could be our round 2, mate.
But I think ultimately, that, without boring you, the meal deal has moved on a lot.
Right.
People don't want to eat as many sandwiches. They like sushi and salads, and I totally get that. And it's so hard. The margins are so tight to get into the meal deal to make anything really good quality. It's really tough, in summary. But what I'm trying to say is that we've gone into other categories, and it's been great for us in terms of building a brand.
Amazing. Ben, lad?
I think it's a bit controversial. I think it probably is, but there's a whole sort of wave of people saying how amazing it is to fail fast, learn quick, failure is the art of whatever. I think that's actually bollocks. I think no one wants to fail. I think failure is a bad thing. The fact is, most people in this room aren't privileged enough to afford to fail. And it's fine for Mark Zuckerberg to pump out, failure is great, but failure isn't good. No one sets out to fail. And if you do, that's just a really bizarre strategy from the outset. So although I talked at the start about not not wanting to be a perfectionist and to just have action and get shit done, I know there'll be fuck ups along the way, there always is, but to write stuff off as a failure, like I'm sure you guys don't feel good about the fact it's been great for brand, but it's probably cost you a bucket load of money, and you don't feel good about the fact that, and you're probably not, hopefully not going to be on LinkedIn celebrating the fact that it's not worked.
You won't see it anyway.
It's mental. So that would be mine.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we've rebranded mistakes as failure, because failure porn like works. Do you know what I mean? I think making mistakes is fine, but failure's like fucked, basically. What about you, mate?
Well, I'm a little bit lead on from you for LinkedIn. What a crock of shit. The most stressful inducing app I've ever known to man. I think it is the most, everybody uses it. I fucking use it. It is the absolute biggest deviator for you in terms of like what you should stay focused on. You spend hours on it, on the fact that, get hold of a buyer and they'll see what I say. And like, basically you're going to have to be a lot more savvy than that in order to make sure some buyer picks you up. Do you know what I mean? They're getting millions of DMs a day. They don't even bother to like even pick those up 9 times out of 10. It is absolutely and utterly a load of useless white noise. Of course we use it, I'm not going to lie. But I find it absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what to fucking say on it. I constantly are like making up some bullshit stories about how I feel about the day, which I don't feel like that. I feel like it's all gone Pete Tong tits up, and I'm literally like hanging on by a shoestring, and I'm going, yeah, yeehaw, we're everywhere, we're doing everything for everybody, and we love each other, and all of this shit, and it is absolutely just social media on acid. And I feel like I am in this system that I've got to stay in because now we're all in it, and yet I feel like I hate everyone else's positive news. Do you know what I mean? It makes me feel like I'm a complete fucking failure. Why are we in there? Why aren't we doing that? Do you know what I mean? It's just, and I just feel like it just like kind of takes you off in this like real depressive state. And I hate LinkedIn. By the way, I'm dyslexic, so it's a fucking nightmare. Like actually trying to write a post, and then I read someone else's post and they've got like mega points and they've got like data attached to it, and it feels like, and I'm just like trying to smash it in a different way, and everyone's yee-hawing and it all feels a little bit high-fivey, like woohoo. And obviously I'm posting loads, like I said, but I find it like a real disingenuous thing. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it makes us all feel like everybody else is doing great, even though, like you're saying, Ben, and I do agree you, that there's loads of things on there about failure. Everyone's still yee-hawing failure, and I think that's like so false. Because your point is really valid. No one wants to fail. It feels like absolute daunting, do you know what I mean, to fail. And I feel like even though everyone's like being positive on there, I do feel there's like this like social media negative energy that kind of is like, yeah, well, good. Because we might be able to like steal their space now. Do you know what I mean? And that is honesty, because I think if you are in a challenger brand, SME, startup, whatever it is, you are running hard to compete. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter whether you're in drinks or you're in meats or you're in snacking or you're in yogurts or whatever it is, or coffee or whatever it is you're doing. We are mainly competing against massive conglomerates, and therefore the real small space that's out there for grabs are like the likes of us. So you are yee-hawing somebody in the same point thinking about how you're going to steal their space and all of this sort of stuff. And I find it just like uber fake, and it's probably something I'm like so really badly not fake, and I find it really hard to be, even though I'm clearly doing a good job of it on LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like LinkedIn is a crock of shit.
Luckily, this podcast is not sponsored by LinkedIn.
Yeah. Exactly. I quite like LinkedIn, to be honest. Amazing. Well, thank you, guys. Let's open these up to questions. Have you got the little... Okay, banging. Who's got questions? If you want to whack your hand up, and then Rich will come round with the little mic that, again, doesn't work, but will pick up the audio in post. How to get your challenger brand into more supermarkets and increase your current distribution in half the time. Range reviews are happening right now, right this millisecond. Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Tesco, Ocado, Co-op, all looking for new banging challenger brands. Don't miss this range review and have to wait another 6 months. It's long. Don't lose precious shelf space to your competitors. Don't let your buyer pick another brand just because you didn't have a Grand Slam deck. North Star Category Management help you create banging supermarket pitch decks so good that buyers find it impossible to say no to. Challenger brands like Perfect Ted, Trip, Bold Co, Dash all love North Star. Look, I am so confident in North Star transforming your brand. We've got an exclusive Hungry offer. Your first month for free. Yes, free. Plus, we're going to give you a free 30-minute consultancy session to see how your brand is currently performing in category. Click the link in the show notes to book your consultancy session and thank me later.
I've been running my business for 260 days, but you said about having a child and doing similar resonates completely. I'd love to find out what surprised you about when you were sub 1 year old to where you are now. If you were to speak to that person and go, by the way, this is going to happen, that going to happen. You know, what surprised you over the last, I don't know how long you've been going, but a long time.
You go, mate.
What surprise? I think every day is like such a surprise when you run your own business. I think what surprised me, how I've been really, just really happy to see how people have picked up the product. Those, like the first listing, I remember ours was like oat coffee on Brick Lane, and going in to see it on the shelf is like really surreal moment, and you're really excited, you build yourself up, you go and buy a can and you're like, what do you think of this brand, to the person behind the till? They're like, I don't know, mate, it's just a drink in the fridge. All the kind of little sort of first moments, the first listing, the first packaging run, the first employee, the first like team night out, like all of the firsts have been like really pleasant surprises. It surprised me how deep you can dig and how resilient you can be when you need to be as well, when your back's against the wall and you're like, shit, we're going to make payday. You just go into a mode where you just make stuff happen and make stuff work. I think that's probably the most surprising thing.
Yeah, I would totally second Ben there. I think you're going to find how resilient you become, like in the sense that being, a wise woman once said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what you'll find, as in, the first knock seems like, wow, how am I going to get over that? And I actually think you become like, those knocks suddenly don't seem like anything anymore. And then you have like a massive whammy and you think, oh my God, how are we going to get through this? And you do, because I think, to Ben's point earlier, obsession, you're obsessed with trying to make this work and push through, so you'll become more resilient than anything you've ever done ever before. Prior to starting Boundless, I worked in the city for like 25 years. I was a commodity trader, and I thought I was fucking resilient. Do you know what I mean? No, I was not, until I started running my own business and that sort of stuff. And I think also, I would say you are going to work longer and harder for less than you've ever worked before. And the irony is with that is you're going to love it. And I think that is what's really fundamentally important, is this country is built on entrepreneurial spirit, small businesses, and I think we get quite a lot of hard knocks from governments. I'm not trying to be political, but we do. Do you know what I mean? There isn't actually a lot of help in terms, unless you are beyond out there seeking it, and yet we are probably the fundamental structure of the most amount of people that are employed in the UK. Small businesses absolutely support the UK's economy, and that is because we are resilient. We push forward, we take knockbacks, we keep coming forward, and we keep pushing. And I think once you have run your own business, albeit successful, and even if it wasn't successful, and I don't mean to champion being a failure, I mean to say because you get up and you go again, do you know what I mean, is the fact that that is what you will get out of any of it, is that there is nothing you won't be able to take on in your life. And I think that is probably a pretty epic thing to know about yourself. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Also, congrats on starting your own business.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Thank you.
Well done. You're buggered.
Ollie, anything from you?
Yeah, I guess like if I look back when in our first year, when we were just like hand linking sausages and making them and selling them, we were just three brothers in business trying to make really good sausages, and that's what it was in that first year. And I'd like to think that we still are three brothers that love making sausages, and we still get on really well. And part of our we definitely still get on really well, but part of our like super strength is we're just kind of real and authentic. So like when we go to things, we were at buyers meeting today at Sainsbury's, and we went dressed like this. We're not in a suit. We're not different. We're kind of we don't know all the lingo of all the retail jargon, but we're ourselves and we're real. And I think that makes a big difference to our business. And we've been the same since we started.
Amazing. Couple more questions.
Hello. So yeah, lots of people talk about exits, right? When you set up a business, or not when you set up a business. Actually, that's kind of my question. What's your views on having a really clear plan to get out, or just growing the business and seeing what happens?
I mean, you've probably got more experience than me, but like, I guess you can only sell a business that someone wants to buy. And lots of people say to us, what's your plan? What's your 3-year plan? I'm like, well, we just want to get past the next 3 months and we want to grow. And we've still got family business and stay in it. And you do hear all these success stories on LinkedIn and things like that. And you hear people raising funds all the time. And I look at it and I'm just like, well, actually, we just need to create something with value. And we're happy with that at the moment. But we haven't got like a 3-year plan, but you hear it all the time, right? And you can't help but listen to it. I mean, you've got more experience than me, probably.
It's been a bad night for LinkedIn, isn't it? So
not sponsoring this podcast.
I think it's totally fine to not set out and not have a plan, to your point, and to just set out to create a really great business and sell people really great products. I know we've got George over here, and I think his family have been making bread for like over 100 years. And there's something really amazing and special and quite rare about that, and that should be celebrated. There's no shame in that, and it, not everyone has to create something they sell in 3 or 5 years for multiple millions of pounds. But I think if you do set out to do that, it is a bit of a different mindset. If you're really clear you do want to do that, I think things like founder stories being very interwoven into your brand makes it difficult to sell your business quickly. Think about something like Deliciously Ella, even her name's in the brand, and it took a very long time to sell the business. Or Ben & Jerry's is another kind of example of that. But yeah, it absolutely can be done. The investment landscape has shifted. People want to value businesses based on profitability now, not just on turnover, which they did before the kind of pandemic. It's harder than ever in the UK to get investment and fundraise. People are more cautious than ever. We often see the big exits in America and we're like, oh, wow, we could do that here, but it is a really different landscape. So, yeah, I think just being really clear on what the kind of business is it something you want to pass down to family or children? Is it something you want to IPO? Is it something you want to exit really quick? Or is it just something you want to build a really great business that sells really great products. And there's nuance to all of it, and there's no right or wrong or shame in any of those businesses. But it's bloody hard if you want to exit quite quick, and you've got to bring in suits, and it's.
When are you getting out, mate?
Who
Next
knows?
week.
Who knows? But yeah, I would say I grew up around the business of food, so my family started an ice cream company in the 1900s in Stroud. It's still run by my family, by my brother. When I was 13, I was like sweeping floors and earning pocket money. And that's just a really different business to the business I run myself. So, yeah. And it affords a different lifestyle.
Yeah, I think for me, you start a business with a purpose, and the purpose should be to serve what you're thinking for the consumer. Do you know what I mean? So where that leads you is therefore a different journey. Do you know what I mean? I think if people buy why you do something, not what you do. So I think you've got to have a why. And therefore that could leave you on a very different trajectory. I think timing, if you're an exit, timing will find you. Unfortunately, you can't say when your time is going to be. It will happen to be when it is, in that kind of way. I totally agree with Ben. I think businesses are very valued very differently now in terms of like what people are looking at in exit terms. Do you know what I mean? You need to have profitability. I think there is certain sector of that is if you're growing channel and proving that a channel can have growth, then there's a little bit of change out of EBITDA for that. Do you know what I mean? In terms of what somebody else can do for that. I think you also have to be honest with yourself of how much you can grow the business to be X. So are you looking at it to take a wage for X amount of period, or grow it as, like you say, a family business? Or is it the fact that you are going to need a strategic partner to get to any kind of level of profitability that you can have, like, a certain level of staff or this or whatever? I think, and that will matter what your product is and what your category is and stuff like that. I think it's also about how long do you want to be in something for. I think overnight success actually doesn't really exist. For me, I think overnight successes are fads. And you may be lucky to have created a fad and you're bought out, but the chances are PepsiCo have bought you for X amount of million, means fuck all to them. And you've gone out and that's great, but you'll see that brand gone within 6 months. They don't care. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a very different kind of factor. I think that ultimately, I think you shouldn't start a business unless you're a tech company. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't really start, certainly in FMCG, F&B, you shouldn't be starting something just for the view that you're going to exit. I think you've got to truly believe in what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And people buy people. And in terms of, like Ben said, getting funding nowadays is really hard. Obviously, as a female founder, it's even harder. We only get like up to 2% of all funding that goes on in the UK. Do you know what I mean? So it's much harder in that sector as well. And people are dazzled by tech companies that invest in you and they'll get 100 times return of their money within a year. That's just not going to happen in F&B. It's a lot harder because you're up against so many more big conglomerates within that space. But I think it's okay to change strategy too. Do you know what I mean? I think being wedded to one thing when you start a business in FMCG or as F&B, I think the whole point is that you're not wedded to an end result. You should be wedded to your purpose and what you're actually trying to do. And I think that will definitely lead you on a path that may not be set out. But I think don't be wedded to what your end goal is, because Oatly, the 10-year overnight success, do you know what I mean, now isn't worth what it was floated on an IPO and all of that kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, just remember, just get through. And I think a little bit what you've said as well, my love, is the fact that, like, maybe we just get through the next 3 months and let's not worry about the next 3 years, because we might not make that. So let's just do that. So, yeah.
Guys, I think food's almost ready, so we'll wrap that up. You're all fucking legends. Thank you so much. Let's go get nice and drunk.